Carl here from Wani, and this evening I have the great pleasure of hanging out with one of my favourite drummers and personalities to talk music with. Best known for his work as part of the internationally acclaimed Halestorm, it is, of course, none other than Arejay Hale himself. And Arejay, as I said, it is a pleasure to see you again, my friend. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, man. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, but before we kick off, I just want to start by saying that I've had the privilege to have heard the upcoming record Back from the Dead out May 6th, and I don't feel I can go any further without first congratulating you and the guys on a truly brilliant record, Arejay. Congratulations, man.
I'm glad you got to hear the whole thing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I hope everyone's really jealous out there. Hey, you got to hear the whole thing. You gotta wait. Sorry.
I'm gonna flaunt that stuff, man. Yeah, I came in last night and loving it. But
thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, just a couple of weeks ago, I had the great pleasure of seeing you and enjoying an evening with Halestorm here in Dublin, Ireland. And man, what a great show that was. Oh my God.
Oh, that was really fun. Yeah.
I brought a friend along with me and we were sitting up in one of the boxes watching the crowd. And one of the things we were struck by was that so few of them were watching you guys through the lens of their camera phones. It was almost as if now that live shows have begun to return, fans have developed a new or rediscovered an old appreciation for just being present when they're at a live show. And I wonder, during your travels so far, is this something you and the band have observed elsewhere, or was that just here in Dublin?
This is something I've noticed. I mean, that was exceptionally rare in Dublin, but it's something I've noticed a lot more in the UK and Ireland and in Europe in general. I feel like most people in the US, I feel like we just live in a society where we have to document everything. Like, we need content. We need content. And we're even at the point now where, as a band, like everyone's like, hey, you guys need to make TikToks now, like, professionally. It's like, oh, okay, like, that's the world we live in now. So I feel like, yeah, like, over there, I think that people are so sick of trying to watch a show and then watching it through the phone screen of whoever's standing in front of them like this. And it's just inconsiderate to the people behind you, you know? Like, they want to actually watch the show. So maybe people are being a little more considerate to the other people in the crowd. And I'd like to think that our fans especially are very respectful to each other. We have a great little, little nutty little community of all the freaks together. You know, we call ourselves freaks in a very loving way because we're all completely nuts to be doing this, and so many of them go from show to show to show. And I think a lot of our people that came to those, a lot of our diehard loving fans that came out to those evening wish shows were people that have seen us multiple times. So they're like, well, we already have video, and plus you can watch any video from any concert on YouTube anywhere that we've done. So they're like, well, why do I need to add one more? I'm just going to enjoy it.
I love that. And when it comes to the live show, you and I have spoken about this before. I think it's been like nearly 4 years since our last interview anyway. But I still love that almost unhinged, loose cannon quality you bring to your performance when, in fact, it's actually more of a controlled chaos that you're orchestrating there. But this time you ventured into even bolder pastures again by stepping into the role of a very, very brave comedian. Because I have to ask, that segment of the show, do you have a little book of dad jokes backstage that you just pull from each night and see what sticks, or did you pick your favourites and bring them out to an evening with Halestorm?
It's a little bit of oh god. Okay, so that wasn't my idea. Okay. I didn't want to do it. I'll be honest with you. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, hang on. Why am I getting? Go away. Sorry, I'm getting pop-ups on my computer.
No, do your thing.
Oh, don't you love living in the Zoom world we live in now? Anyway, okay, so that wasn't my idea. I didn't want to do it because I was like, comedy at a rock and roll show, nobody's going to get it. And our manager kept on hounding me about, like, you got to do it. Because I did an open mic night in Nashville one time just for fun. Everybody came out and everyone was, like, dying. Because that was the environment for it. Like, everyone was there ready to see jokes. Surprisingly, though, Dublin was the first time I tried it, and it was great. Like, everybody was on board. Everybody got it. They were groaning and booing, which we encourage because, some of them are ones that I've written. Some of them are ones that like old classic dad jokes that I try to revamp and apply to our music world, our Halestorm rock and roll world. And Dublin was great, but then I tried it the next couple nights, and I feel like a lot of the audience didn't really know what was going on. So we ended up kind of pulling the plug on doing the stand-up set, and we kind of compromised. We're like, okay, instead of doing a 5 to 8 minute monologue, we'll just throw some jokes in between songs. That's what we ended up doing. But for those of you who came to the Dublin show, you got the very rare experience of seeing a full comedy set in the middle of the show. It was weird.
I love that. We were there. It was fun. It was.
I had a blast doing it, and the crowd was on board. They were great. I just feel like it was the perfect setting for it. It was a very intimate setting. I loved it.
Absolutely. And as we mentioned just a little bit earlier, the new Halestorm album, Back from the Dead, I think it will be your first studio release in, I believe, 4 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, something like that. And while there is, I imagine, always a certain anxiety that manifests itself before putting out a new record, this body of work that you've slaved over and poured yourself into, I'm curious as to how you're feeling within yourself in the lead up to Back from the Dead. Is it the same as it's always been? Are you more excited, more anxious than previous releases? Where is it with you, my friend?
No. This is completely different than any other record we put out. I think this is the first time that I have to give I have to give a lot of credit to Nick Raskulinecz, our producer, who's worked with some of the greatest drummers of all time. He's worked with Will Hunt, Neil Peart, Taylor Hawkins, rest in peace. Oh, yeah, God.
I know.
Also, and Dave Grohl, and I know that was sad news, right? God, that was such a shocker. Anyway, we'll that's a different conversation. But yes, for this record, I also have to give a lot of credit to Scott Stevens, who I've developed such a great relationship with over the past couple of years. This is a guy that's been in our camp for forever. He wrote some of our biggest hits, and for this record, it was probably the most collaborative that I've been with him. It's not just with the writing, but also with the drumming and all that. He was the one that kind of started throwing all these crazy program drum ideas at me. I'm like, can you play this stuff? And I'm like, I'll try. I've been playing long enough. I think I could probably figure it out. And it was such a challenge. I remember coming home from the studio, and I couldn't remember my middle name or anything. I'd go to my girlfriend and be like, "Hi, babe, what's your name?" Just because my brain was so fried by the end of tracking. So this was the biggest challenge. But I think this is the closest I've gotten to actually getting to play the style of drumming that I want to play from the very beginning. In the early days of Halestorm, when my sister and I were just starting out, we weren't playing for a purpose. We were just playing for ourselves. So we would just write music and write musical parts that we thought were really fun to play. And ever since then, everything kind of had to get simplified and dumbed down, and which made sense at the time. It was the mid-2000s, and it was bands like 3 Days Grace, Nickelback, Theory of a Dead Man, all these bands that have really big wide open parts, big chords, big just big wide open drum grooves and stuff. And now Scott, with his great vision, he started thinking I think that people want to hear fun and interesting musical parts now. People want to hear people playing. So he was like, I want to capture the live energy that you bring to your lives, because live shows are they're all bets are off. We go for blood when we're playing live. We don't necessarily play the parts exactly the same like the record. We want to give people a live adventure. So this was the record. I think that again, we've just gotten closer to that, and I think between Scott and Nick, the two of them working as a team, they really, really brought something brand new and crazy out of me that I didn't even know was there. It was. I had never been that much challenged as a drummer in so long, probably ever. It was crazy.
That's awesome. It's funny you say that, because you and I have spoken about it before, that you'd worked with producers who were advocating that you simplify or even dumb down your drumming during the writing process. And then working with Nick, he was essentially the antithesis of all that. So I'm really, really glad to hear that you felt you got to push the envelope.
Oh my God! Both Nick, Scott would think as a songwriter, and he would throw me all the and produce. He's also an incredible producer. Yeah. So working with these two powerhouse producers as a team, it was unbelievable seeing them work together. And then the two of them would cook up something crazy and then throw it to me and be like, hey, you want to do something crazy here? I'm like, okay. And they wouldn't settle for the conventional, like, how about a digga-digga-digga-digga? No, they want to go like they wanted to do all this crazy stuff, and not to the realm of like math rock. Like they didn't want me to go prog, but they wanted this punk, like almost more so punk rock energy that it kind of comes from my roots anyway. Like that's what I was raised on. So punk and stuff like that. So they wanted to really bring that genuine energy out of me, and so therefore, long story long, this record release, I'm really anticipating this, and I really want it to do well because I really want this to be the new precedent for the band. I want people to say like, I want people to think like, oh, I love this version of Halestorm is very, very unshackled, like very, very creatively unconfined, and so I'm hoping that is the direction that our sound will go in, and will continue to go that way. I want us to keep breaking barriers.
It feels like you are to me. I've only spent the last 24 hours with it, but I'm already picking up on that, man. You guys did an awesome job. And, I've been following you and the band and had the pleasure of working with you a couple of times over the years. When I listened to the new album's leading single, or one of the leading singles, The Steeple, first of all, it is a monster of a track. I truly adore it. But watching it live, it did two things for me. The first being that on the one hand, it kind of felt like a warm embrace to your fans after these, 2 years. And on the other hand, it tapped into a similar feeling for me that Here's to Us kind of conjures up, where it feels like an ode to that relationship or a celebration or an acknowledgement of it, which got me wondering, am I completely misinterpreting and missing the mark on this one, or is there a parallel between the two, do you think?
No, I'm actually so impressed that you actually pulled that out, that you actually nailed it. Like,
awesome.
That was kind of the theme behind that song, because we had already released a song called Amen on Into the Wildlife, and that song did okay, but it was more like my life, my love, my church, my. And this was kind of the same theme, but it was more like us, ours, we. It's, and I've always wanted to bring that in a song theme, because it is a very much community type thing. So no, you nailed it. That was kind of the idea. I feel like that message just kind of seeps its way into our songs, because when we are up on stage and everyone's there, it really is kind of a religious experience, and a lot of our fans think of it that way, and. They come to. We had these two fans that literally flew out to the UK to celebrate their 100th Halestorm show with us, and I think Belfast might have been like 97 or something like that, and so that moves us. The fact that you're seeing that type of human behavior, and I think that's astonishing. So we can't help but talk about it in the songs.
I love that. Thank you so much. And yeah, that was a kind of a dice roll of interpretation on my end, so I'm delighted with that.
Well done. If I had applause, if we have a studio audience, they can start clapping.
I'll take
Where's
that.
the studio audience?
Next time, brother. Next time. And I've only got a couple of questions left for you, RJ. I know you got a
go for it.
Day. So, I really love this record, and some of the tracks that already stand out to me are things like Wicked Ways, Strange Girl, Steeple, Terrible Things, and Bombshell, which you also played here. It's a real all-killer, no-filler kind of record. But one of the other things I really dig about it is, I know you kind of started writing it at a time where you guys were uncertain of when or if the opportunity of performing live was going to come back to you. And it's one of the very few albums that have been recorded in the last 2 years where it sounds like you said to yourselves, well, if we can't bring the songs to arena, we'll bring the sound of the arena to the recordings. We'll bring the energy of the arena to the recordings. And I just kind of wonder, is this a fair assessment of the energy captured on Back from the Dead, or what do you feel when you listen to it back?
It's funny you mentioned that, because a lot of times that was our mentality with our past records. We thought that we had to play everything very big and dumb and simple in order for it to sound good in an arena. But I always made the argument of, well, then how come Slipknot sounds so good in an arena? And they're not compromising their creativity because they're like, oh, we need, like, I don't think you need to change. This is not for everybody, but just for me personally, like, I felt like I don't want to completely change my style of playing and what the fans want to hear in order for us to tailor our writing for the room. Like, no, like, we'll make the room sound good. We have a kick-ass sound guy, you know? But I think that instead of bringing the arena to the album, Scott and Nick and all of us wanted to just bring that raw energy, like bring that excitement to the, you know, because I think if we were to release another Vicious, another Wildlife, another Strange Case, it would just be like, okay, here's more of the same. Mm-hmm. And we've never been the kind of band that just settled. Like, we're always wanting to challenge ourselves. And oh boy, was this a challenge. One of my biggest challenges was doing double bass again. I hadn't played double bass. I hadn't used a double bass pedal in like 10 years. I've always been a single bass, John Bonham, you know, Travis Barker, Dave Grohl, like those guys that have like the wicked fast single foot. And this was the first time that Scott was like, hey, I'm going to make you do double bass. I'm like, oh boy. So I wouldn't, yeah. So but that's a really interesting take. And honestly, like, it's the listener's interpretation is what really matters. So if you feel like we brought that big arena sound, maybe because you're used to going to arenas and seeing bands that actually play really interesting and fun and intricate music parts and having it still sound amazing, that's reassuring. That's reassuring that when you hear this album, you don't hear a jazz band in a club, you hear an arena band, you know? So that is, you know, very reassuring for us, and thanks, you know?
I'm glad to hear. You know, just before
it gives me hope. Maybe that's the future. We'll hope. Let's hope.
Man, seriously, you guys have nothing to worry about in that department. But before I ask you my final question, when you were talking about those challenges in terms of recording the record, I heard through the ether that you apparently smashed up your hand with a hammer accidentally at one point. Is that true? Or
my God!
Yeah.
It wasn't in the studio, but it was the very beginning of our tour with Evanescence, and I was my drum tech and I were fixing a few things on my drum kit. I had to make a few changes to my setup, and we use racks. We don't use tripods because I've got way too much stuff, and we can't have all the tripods fighting each other. So they're all on like these low racks on each side of my drum kit, and so we were using a plastic mallet to kind of like tap the clamp so they would slide down the rack, and somehow my left index finger got in the way, and he got it with the hammer, and I was like, ooh, and he was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine, because it just felt like my finger was pinched in a drawer. And then he looked down at my finger, looked up at me, and said, "You're not okay." And somehow it caught something sharp, and it just ripped open. Like, it was just, I mean, you know, I was like, I'm fine. And my guitar player Joe, God bless him, he was just like, "That's a tour ender." The tour, he loves to go from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. He's like, "Oh, we're all doomed. And I was like, dude, I'm fine. I'm not a guitar player. I don't need my fingertips. I just need to just duct tape the stick to my hand and we'll be fine."
Yeah. You can play drums with one hand tied behind your back anyway.
The only thing that really bummed me out was the fact that I knew that the next day I was going to be opening up for Will Hunt. And that dude is such a machine. I was like, you know, I was literally training for this tour because I was like, I got to keep up with Will. That dude's such an animal. I'm like, you know, practicing the parts and trying to, like, you know, stay loose and exercise and stretch and all that. And then I do that, and it's like, damn it. So I wrapped it up with some Gorilla Tape, and it was fine.
Nicely done. I mean, at least it was an accident. For me, I moved into a new house recently, and I'm doing that thing now where I have the kitchen cupboards open, and in the last place, it was like an obstacle course. I knew my way around. Now I'm banging, like, I've got cuts all over my head, because I mean, I'm naturally blonde. I'm not starting from a position of power anyway. But anyway, before we wrap up, I've got one more question for you, my friend. And I'm going to step back from the dead for just a moment, because there's something else I'm just eager to talk with you with, and it surrounds a graphic novel depicting the celebrated group Halestorm as they seek refuge in a gothic estate filled with creaks, twists, and doom-filled revelations. Now, you've been to Dublin. That stuff happens here most nights. But, yes. RJ, what can you tell us about Hyde Manor?
About what?
Hyde Manor, I believe, is it called?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So this was the brilliant idea of our team to create a graphic novel, which is kind of like a comic book and kind of a, I think I don't know if there's any physical copies. I think it's all just kind of digital, but we had the theme for The Strange Case of back in 2012, and that album title came from after we wrote the song Miss Hyde, which was like the female version of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Mm-hmm. So, obviously the title was The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mrs. Hyde. So we were like, well, let's call the album The Strange Case of Halestorm. And it shows that juxtaposition between, us kind of being these like, generally positive and laid back people off stage, and laid back if you want to call it that. But then when we go on stage, it's like you just go for it. So we really, all of us really feel like we have this split personality between who we are off stage and who we are on stage. Because once the music takes over, you become a different person. You kind of just become this animal like person. So that was kind of the theme behind the album. And then here we are years later. We're like, oh, well, why don't we see if we can actually turn this into a story? And awesome. And I was all about it. I was like, let's do it. And so we have an incredible team that made it, and it's something. It's really hilarious, I think.
I can't wait, man.
So definitely check that out. Like that's quite an exciting endeavor, and it's always fun for us to do creative things kind of outside of our normal world, which is just songwriting and performing and making music and so this was just a fun way for us to kind of dive in, sink our teeth into something creatively kind of outside of our wheelhouse. And that was another really fun challenge.
I love that, man. And I know we're coming to the end of our time, so I just want to say it's awesome to see you again. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have.
Your hair's getting longer. I like it.
Oh, man, I know it's getting that McDonald's vibe now, so I kind of need to go touch it up.
I'm getting very close to that. Yeah, like luckily I'm trying to grow the sides out. So awkward phase. Here we come.
Look, the album is fantastic. I wish you, Lizzie, Joe, Josh, nothing but the best for the rest of the year and beyond, my friend. And I hope we can do this soon again.
I hope we can do it in person, man. I mean, like it's nice to see your face. It sucks we couldn't see you on tour because I hate bubble touring. But I hope that we'll be coming at the end out of this whole thing soon, and we can do this again in person.
We got to wave from the stage a couple times. It's all good.
Yeah, I know. I waved to you. I remember.
Listen, have a great day, brother. Marissa, thank you so much for your time, and I shall catch you soon. All right.
Thank you for spending the time, man. I can't wait to do it in person. I can't wait to have a Guinness with you.
Oh, yeah. on me, by the way. First one's on me, my friend.
And a shot of Jameson. Oh, you're paying? Okay, 2 shots of Jameson, 3 Guinness. No.
What have I
you ever seen Dirty Rotten Scoundrels?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, get this man, whatever. It's like oh, turkey on rye, 3 baked potatoes, just one of those knockwords, a giant bit, and 2 beers. You want a beer? 3 beers.
Oh, I completely forgot.
I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. That's a classic.
I have, yeah, I have indeed.
Good, yes.
Yes, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm more well versed than I give off. Don't worry.
I'm not. Thanks.
No, you are. Don't be selling yourself short. You absolutely are. You absolutely are. You're the dark horse in that sense, man. For sure.
Oh man. Hey, by the way, our friends at Lit are coming over to the. I don't know if they're coming to Dublin. Have you seen anything about that over by you?
I have not so far, but let me just check my...
You know the band Lit, right?
I do.
They're like some of our best friends. They're awesome.
I do indeed, sir. Let me just check my roster here.
I was hoping the weather would be nice because when we were there, it was gorgeous.
It really was. Now,
I'm not sure if they're playing Dublin, but if you want to go and see them, let me know. I can. The drummer is like one of my best friends. So
absolutely, I can't see. I'm not sure. I can't see any dates for here, but no, I can't see any dates for here. I would love to though. Love to go check them out.
I'm not sure if they're going to be playing Dublin. Oh well, whatever.
Next time.
I'll just kidding.
But at least, they got the shout out anyway, so that's always cool.
Hey, shout out to Lit!
Shout out to Lit, my friends. Shout out to Lit. But thank you so much for the offer, though.
Everyone listening is like, they're talking about Lit. Please tell me why.
Oh, those are my favorite kind of interviews, though. The ones that just.
I hope it doesn't make you completely miserable.
Every time, man. Every time I talk to you, I always end in tears laughing.
It's early in the morning over here.
Oh, it's like, what time is it here? It's 6 p.m. here now. So I've had my few coffees and.
Good, you can have a Guinness now.
You know what? Seeing as you said so, I think I have to. You know what I mean?
Celebrate this wonderful interview.
It's documented now. RJ said I could have a midweek pint, so that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Blame it on me.
100%. 100% going to blame it. All right, listen, I'll get out of here and let you get to your next one, man. Thanks for shooting.
I miss you, bud.
I miss you too, man. I really do.
Man.
Thanks for not just the interview, but just for shooting the breeze for a few minutes. It was awesome.
No, honestly, we haven't. I mean, don't worry, you're not special. It's just good to see anybody. No, it's really just good to catch up with you. It has been 4 years, something like that. So let's not wait another 4 years till the next one.
I'm game for that, and I'll hold you to that.
Anytime you want to do this, let us know, man. I'm always down.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Cool. Maybe we'll do a follow up there and have a bit of fun with that. That'd be cool. All right.
I'm sure we'll do this again as the album comes out and all that. So
perfect. Perfect. That sounds. I'm excited for that already. Have a good day, RJ. See you, Marissa.
Thanks, man. Bye. And best of luck to you and everything coming ahead and all the shows and everything.
Thank you so much, sir. You're very kind. Bye, guys. Bye.
See you, bud.